Hey, I'm Jeff the Junk Seller. This presentation is going to be about the itinerary that I put together for shopping following for the weekend following the one at First Mondays. I wound up going up to I guess you would call it Southern Oklahoma, South Central Oklahoma, North Central Texas. A kid that I know lives up in Wilson. It's the same trip that I made last month, except I really planned a whole lot more stops on this one. They in Waurika, Oklahoma, they had what they call the Oklahoma or the Rattlesnake Roundup. And whenever you have these little festivals, these little events that happen in these rural places, everybody has a tendency to put on their garage sales in the surrounding area. And we went up there. We found out that that was true. But that was starting on Thursday. So I made it up there Wednesday night, and we shopped garage sales all Thursday. We made it out to the roundup. There wasn't anything happening there, but there was another a town near there called Ringling that was actually founded by the founder or the owner of Ringling Brothers Circus. I think 1913, something like that. But they were supposedly had their citywide sale, and there's like 800 residents in this place. I think there were three sales that happened. Only we only found one of them open. Somebody had passed away, so the other two sales closed down so that they could attend the funeral. But for a citywide sale, I mean, we made it into this little town, and I saw one sale. It was a bit of a disappointment. I really had high hopes for that one, but we made the roundup. There were a couple of auctions that were supposed to be going on in Pauls Valley. I wanted to go to Ardmore. I thought that I was going to set up at that flea market, the Flea to Fun market again. I wound up not setting up. I chose to shop garage sales instead, which was not a good decision. I didn't come up with much, but I ended up. This kid that I know had been to the shop that is owned by a guy that sets up out of the flea market there in Ardmore, and he told me that I needed to get there, and I went in and I bought some stuff. It wasn't much, you could fit everything that I bought in a tiny little box, but and I paid him $259. But I got some really great stuff. I'll be showing that. I'm gonna try to encapsulate all the little sales that we went to, all the gains that I made, and stitch it all together. So this may seem like it's patched together. It is. But we went to gave me a chance to go to Marlowe, and we went to a shop there, and they made me a hell of a deal on some stuff. But I was able to get a note put into the storage unit of the people who we met during the Duncan world's largest garage sale. They never contacted me. I didn't get their contact information, and that was regrettable. But I ended up leaving them some information, and I found out from the lady at the mall that sold to me previously that they had gotten sick with COVID not long after that sale, and that was the reason, probably the reason that they hadn't contacted me. But just general housekeeping stuff. I think I put in about 1,250 miles, and on a van, I'm getting 13 miles to the gallon, and that's 100 gallons of gas. Now, the thing that separates me from probably the rest of the country is I'm not paying much for gas here. I'm paying. I think I paid. The cheapest I bought was 238, and the most expensive was 285. And I'm gonna guess that the average was about 250, 255. So I got about $250 in fuel, not counting any of the wear on the vehicle. But I did come up with some pretty good stuff, and I'm gonna show it to you in this presentation. So the first place we stopped on this little buying trip was I don't even think we'd gotten out of Wilson yet, and we made it to a sale. Little old lady. It was early in the morning. She was so nervous. She just didn't know how to name a price or anything. Um, she was so flustered about trying to sell stuff. But I ended up spending, I think, $30 or $31 with her. Um, the first thing I got, I saw the planter and with the flower pots, the um, plant stand, and asked her what she needed for it, and she told me $5. And I'll get $25 for that, no problem, out of Canton. And it goes with the iron stuff that I picked up in the storage unit that I bought there in Canton. So I was quick to get on that. And then I found jewelry boxes. The jewelry boxes here, there were three of them. Junk jewelry, a little bit of silver here. Um, some of the stuff I'll get $1, a couple of dollars a piece for. There are some Swarovski crystal earrings that maybe $10, $15. But most of that was junk. But she told me $10 for everything, and I'll get $10 or $12 for the plain old tackle box that the jewelry was in. Bought a bunch of Legos. She wanted $10 for all of the Legos there, except for there was a bunch of Legos that were used to make a napkin, a tissue box holder, and she wanted $3 for that. I was quick to pay that. I was already getting her too much value out of her anyway. Um, and then there was the Fenton vase. I saw that just at the very end, and when I asked her, I think it was either $2 or $3. It was virtually nothing, and the damn thing's it's signed on the bottom. It goes for like anywhere from 80 to like $120. It's rosaline color, and very popular among collectors. But that was the first stop in this trip. All right, so I'm barely into this presentation. I figured out that I've made a couple of misrepresentations already. I didn't actually go into Wilson on Wednesday night. I took off from Canton at like 4 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, hoping to be in Wilson at 6:30 in the morning. But there were some traffic accidents in Dallas, in the Dallas area, at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got jammed up pretty good. But the kid that I was dragging around with up there, he's got an impulsivity problem, and he couldn't wait for me to arrive there, so he took off to go to Waurika. Our first stops were in Waurika. The first sale that I told you that I made, that was actually the next day on Friday. Um, but we went to I ended up going to Waurika, and I made it to a garage sale, and I met a guy that's buying storage units, and I bought a license plate and a compact. It cost me all the $5, and I ran into um, my buddy there. It was just a wild chance that we ended up crossing paths at that sale. But I made it to two other sales in Waurika, and then so the next sale that I made it to, I bought four pieces of cast iron. I got a number nine Volrath. It's they've got a pretty good following. I paid $10 for that skillet. I'll probably get $40 or $45 for it. Also got a number seven Griswold. It's a spinner. There's a bulge on the bottom. I might be able to get that straightened out. Otherwise, I'll just backstock it. Truth be told, I'll probably backstock them all. But I paid $10 for that one also. And then I got a Wagner. I believe that it's six, a number six or a seven, and I'll get $30 or $35 for that one. And then I got a number three, and I like the number threes. The threes and the fours are pretty easy to sell. You only get about $15 a piece for them, but I paid $8 for each of those two smaller ones, and then I paid $4 or $2 a piece for Nabisco premium cracker tins, and I generally sell those for about $5. They're pretty easy sales. I put them out and they're gone the first couple of days at Canton. But I spent $30 at that sale. So the next sale that I made it to there in Waurika is the one where I decided that I was going to be purchasing glass. The large green bowl here, the ruffled bowl, I think I paid $5 on that one. When I was there, I just started picking stuff up, and the girl wound up bringing out the little pink vase. I believe that one is Fenton. I think she charged me like $2 for it. It will end up being $35 at Canton. The um, the Indian badge, the Indian police badge, that is a reproduction, and they sell on eBay for about $30. I'll get $25 out of it at Canton. The funnel, the galvanized steel funnel with the flexible hose, I paid $2 for that. Probably $10 on that. The La Crusette stuff I got to add with some other. That's actually porcelain or pottery, and I'll add that with some of the enameled cast iron that I have. Once I get enough to make enough pieces to make a full presentation, I'll offer that at the market. Um, the potato masher, I think I'll get $15 out of. The little tin with the for the Swiss watch parts, that's got a Tulsa, Oklahoma imprint on it. I think we added that just to bring me from 16.50 to $17. It has a price tag on the back side of it from previous seller offering it for $5. That's probably what I'll get on it. The La Crusette set that I have, um, the lid on the green piece has a chip in it, but I retained it because somebody might have the pot with the broken handle, and they might need Frankenstein a set together. But all in all, that was a pretty diverse group of material, and it only cost me $17. I'll get most of that back on the potato masher, and I can get on the plus side of that deal just selling the Indian police badge. So we wound up going to Bowie, Texas, and stopped in a couple of shops down there. My buddy, he was plucking gold. He was getting gold almost everywhere he went, and we stopped in a thrift store. I got a big copper spittoon that was made in Mexico. I think it's 2.5 pounds of copper. They were putting it out. It had a $6.99 price tag on it. I think I $7 plus change after they taxed me out on it. But it's the season to sell flower pots, and somebody will want to poke a hole in the bottom of that and use it for a flower pot. I'm certain. Um, and I'll probably get 25 dollars out of it. But we wound up in an antique shop, and I found a couple of daguerreotypes, and one of them has the original box. I've never seen a daguerreotype come with the original cardboard box that the case came in, but this one has it. The cardboard there is spot on for it. It is same style, same color, same everything as the case, and I think um I think it was $24. I paid somewhere $26, $27, something like that on this. But then we made it to both Warika and to Ringling again on Friday. After we'd hit Bowie, we pretty much called it a day. It we'd been out for a while, but on Friday we wound up in an antique mall that we'd been in during the Duncan world's largest garage sale in Duncan. But we wound up in this antique mall in Marlow, and the ladies there recognized us. My buddy killed it there too, but I ended up finding some tobacco tins, and I found four of them. They were marked $20 a piece. I was going to go see what I could get them for. If I bought all these four, what kind of price I could get. And she already had a price in mind. She told me that there was another one that I'd missed, and that I could get all five of them for $25. And I think that there's about $500 worth of tobacco tins here. But she says that these came from Pennsylvania, and that she got them at a really great deal, and she had them in the shop for a while, and they weren't getting any attention. So she was letting it all go. But I felt like I had to buy something there because we go in there and they got a bunch of stuff on the bench that is all free. And I found this organizer. It's like a pen tray or something, and it was made by the POWs at the PX station. And it's got a little plaque on it, aluminum plaque, and it had a $59 price tag on it. And I believe I got some young guys that shop me for military stuff, and prisoner of war stuff is just hot. I mean, it's just it's good stuff to have. It does not last long, and I think that I get refunded on that. I think I probably get $50 out of that. But that was it wound up being a really great stop. I have to go and see them every time that I make it up that way. While we were in Marlow, we did chance upon a garage sale where a guy had some pretty good stuff, and I really, if I would have had more space, I would have bought some more stuff. He had concrete statuary. I just really didn't want to haul that heavy weight, and a statue that was 40 inches tall, you only wanted $10 for. If I could have gotten that straight to Canton, I could have made plenty of money on it. But I bought a big ginger jar that was brass for $3. I got a couple of Spurs singles that were $5 a piece, and I got something else from that guy. Oh, I got a bag of pool balls. That also was $3, and in one of them, the 8 ball was in there, and the yellow number one ball, I sure seemed like it was Bakelite. So I was pretty stoked about that. I think that those balls might be Bakelite. I got to figure out how to make certain. But I think that those will be pretty decent money. But that was it as far as that sale. So for Saturday, my buddy, he wants to run off. He goes to Bowie, to the flea market there, and then went over to Bonham, to the flea market there to shop. He was able to get some gold. I didn't want to make that trip. I went to the Ardmore, the Flea to Fun sale, to shop it and to meet the owner of the shop that I made it to later in the day. And I wound up spending 259 or $249 in that guy's shop, and I got a bunch of really great stuff. I got a an allotment, land allotment certificate for the Chickasaw Nation. That might be an $800 piece of paper, and I paid $10 for it. But I got some great photographs. One was a car with banners on it advertising the birth of the nation, and that was a film about the Ku Klux Klan. That's a pretty controversial photograph, a real controversial movie by Cecil B. DeMille, and that I think the movie was released in 1911, and so the photograph would have been period to that. And I think that it's probably 100, 100 and a quarter. Another one was a bank teller. I think that was Security National Bank of Oklahoma City, 1911, and it's got a placard in there advertising the state fair, and it's got calendars on the wall that you can read that it's Security National Bank. And that teller photo, that's probably $150 photo. A lot of guys sleep on that stuff. I think I paid $5 a piece on these photos, but I got a bunch of gold nibbed pins. I think I got 10 of them that he sold me for $37 total. I got some watch fobs, um, uh, a key return. I got some sterling. He had a sterling necklace that was probably 5 or 6 grams of. No, it's probably more than that. It's probably more like 25 grams of silver, and it was $6. And I just got a whole mess of stuff from him. I'll be back to shop him again. There were a bunch of dollar postcards, a Halloween postcard, a lumber store from Ardmore, Oklahoma, that was probably 1915 or so. It was a good view of lumber. Um, lumber yard. But a lot of the photos were just odd photographs, portraits, groups. A couple of pictures of Jewish people in there, which it's actually noteworthy. You don't find them being photographed very often. But that wound up being a pretty good stop. But I didn't do too much more than that. I shopped around. I went to Paul's Valley at 1 o'clock. I heard that there was a 1 o'clock and a 5 o'clock auction, and somehow I got misinformed, and I learned that the 1 o'clock time was when they set out stuff at this one auction that actually happened at 5 o'clock, and I believe that that was the totality of it. But there's actually a 1 o'clock auction that happens there. I've got to get up there next month and try to find that 1 o'clock auction because that's the guy that I wanted to see. The other auction, I didn't even stay for it, and I stopped at one sale, one garage sale, and the guy had a patch for sewing onto a shirt, and it was Olympics USA 1960, and I think that that might be a really rare patch. I paid the guy $1 for it, and I can't find any patches that early. I can find 1968 patches, and I can find 1972 patches, and newer than that, but I cannot find anything from 1960, except for they have one online at the Smithsonian Institution, and where their thread that they used is red, mine is blue, and where mine is blue, theirs is red. Um, it just I think that that might be a rare patch because I can't find any comps on it. But that was it for Saturday. Now Sunday, my buddy decided that he'd done too much road time. He didn't want to go set up at Ardmore. I made it there anyway, and I got up for 4:20 in the morning, I think, and I was on the road. I got to Ard, I no at Sulphur. He didn't want to set up at Sulphur, and I got to Dog Trade, and I set up, and I did $289 worth of business there, and I sold some odd stuff. I sold a wide variety of stuff, but I had bought these marbles for there was a vendor out there that I just wanted him to see. He thought that he had some similar marbles to these, and he thought that they were worth $10 a piece. And I bought a box of marbles. I bought 10 kilos of these so that I could put them in a jar and have them out there for for $1. And his $8 and $10 marbles. And a guy came along and asked me. I had some jarred up, in jars that I couldn't get $1 for, and I filled them full of marbles and put them out there. And a guy came along and asked how much for all of them, and I had 2/3 of them put into jars out there, and I told him $100, and he took it. I still got a third of it left, and I'm gonna have to order two more boxes of marbles. It cost me $50 for two huge boxes of marbles, and I think that I could probably really make a lot of money on those. I never wanted to be that guy though, but I sold some Dragon Ball Z cards to a young guy. I had 35 packs of those. Set up 3 packs to a group, and I sold him the groups for $1 a piece. He does pretty good selling gaming stuff and stuff like that. He's just started marketing, and he thought that these were a hell of a bargain and wanted to buy them all. But I had a couple of pretty decent sales there. But then in the end, I went poking around over at another vendor's place, and he had a bunch of pins, and like American Legion pins, that kind of thing, International Oddfellows, and he told me that he wanted $15 for the whole box. I didn't want the whole box. Most of them, I have a lot of that stuff already, but I did find two 10 karat gold pins in there, and I found a little bit of like a gold chain bracelet that was 14 karat and with a little cross on it, and the chain was broken and tied in a knot, and I showed him that stuff and asked him how much. The two pins were, I think, 4.9 grams of 10 karat gold, and he sold it all to me for $1. The 14 karat gold, that was, I think, zero point 0.7 grams, if my scale is accurate at all. But it winds up being like $260 worth of gold. By the time I pay fees on that, I will probably pay for the stuff that I bought from the antique mall there in Ardmore. But it was a pretty good trip, and I look forward to. I made it out to the Wilson auction and walked it, and there was nothing out there. I wasn't interested in sticking around to see any of it, so I made it back to Canton early. But I'm interested in making this same route again next month. The roundup won't be going on. The Ringling citywide won't be going on. But those, I really don't need for those to be happening. There probably will be another citywide, maybe in Lawton or Ardmore or something. But that was a pretty action packed weekend. Even though a lot of things fell through, um, I still got out of there with plenty of stuff. As a footnote, as I was leaving Ardmore, I stopped by sale a lady that is there. She does she buys storage units and she liquidates them there. And she was having a sale. She does it on the same days that they have the flea market. She's not far from the flea market. And I stopped in there. I was able to buy a picture of baptisms down at the river. I collect those because I think that it's bizarre that everybody in the church got together and went down and got dunked in the river on some day in the summer. It's kind of an Oklahoma thing, a lot of Baptist. That was happened a lot, and these pictures are an artifact of that. But I paid $2 each for these pieces. The drawing, I actually thought was a sketch. I was worn out. I was really really tired. That was a bit of a mistake. I'll get my $2 out of it. Um, but it was all in all, it was a pretty good trip. But I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. If you have, please check out some of my other videos, and if you enjoy those as well, then please subscribe. But thank you for viewing.